My name is Whitney Davis, and I'm 32 years old. 6 months ago, my parents stood in front of 80 guests at their anniversary party and said they wished I didn't exist. My sister smiled. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. 1 week later, their wish came true, and their entire lives fell apart. Before I tell you exactly what happened that night and what I did next, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this story. I'd also love to know, where are you watching from and what time is it where you are? Drop a comment below. Let me take you back to that Saturday evening in March. The Grand Cascade Ballroom was decorated with white roses and gold ribbons. Everyone was dressed up, everyone was smiling, and I had no idea that in less than 2 hours, my parents would say the words that would change everything. I should probably start earlier, though, because what happened that night didn't come out of nowhere. It had been building for years. I just didn't want to see it. The week before the party, we had dinner at my parents' house, just the four of us: Mom, Dad, Noreen, and me. Noreen showed up 45 minutes late. No apology, no explanation. She just breezed in, kissed Mom on the cheek, and sat down like nothing had happened. Sorry, she said, not sounding sorry at all. I was working on my business. Mom beamed. Noreen's been so busy. She's expanding her online store. I'd just gotten there on time, like always. I'd even brought dessert, Mom's favorite lemon bars. But nobody mentioned that. How's work, Whitney? Dad asked, cutting into his chicken. Good, I said. Actually, really good. We just closed our Series B funding round. $12 million. Dad nodded absently. That's nice, honey. He turned to Noreen. Have you thought about hiring Whitney to help with your marketing? She's good with numbers. I stared at him. I wasn't a marketer. I was a CFO. But he didn't know the difference. Noreen launched into a complaint about how hard it was to run her store, how the algorithm was against her, how nobody appreciated handmade goods anymore. Mom jumped in immediately. Sweetie, do you need money? We can lend you $5,000. Would that help? $5,000, just like that. Last year, I'd asked to borrow $2,000 to fix my car after an accident. Dad had said, You have a good job, Whitney. You should be able to handle that yourself. I didn't bring it up. I never did. Then Noreen reached across the table and took the last lemon bar, the one I'd been saving, without asking. Mom laughed. You too. Sisters share everything, right? I smiled, but I felt something crack inside me. I should have seen it coming. But I still believed that night would be different. I was wrong. The party preparations took over my entire weekend. I spent Saturday booking the final details with the venue coordinator, confirming the menu, and triple-checking the guest list. Sunday, I drove to the ballroom to make sure the seating chart made sense and the floral arrangements matched what Mom wanted. I paid the $3,000 deposit myself. Mom and Dad didn't know. Their credit card had been declined, and I didn't want them to be embarrassed. I just quietly used mine and told them the venue had waived it as a courtesy. Noreen showed up 30 minutes before the guests arrived. She looked stunning, hair perfect, dress perfect, makeup perfect. She immediately pulled out her phone and started posing with Mom and Dad by the entrance. This lighting is amazing, she said, snapping photo after photo. Within minutes, she'd posted to Instagram. So grateful for my amazing parents. Family, first number 35, years strong. The comments poured in. You're so beautiful. What a lucky family. Your parents must be so proud. When the guests started arriving, everyone gravitated toward Noreen. She had that effect. Bright, bubbly, magnetic. Oh my goodness, Noreen, you look absolutely stunning, one of Mom's friends gushed. Your parents must be so proud of you. Nobody asked about me. When Mom introduced us to a couple from Dad's old company, her voice changed. This is Noreen, my baby girl. Warm, affectionate, then almost as an afterthought. And this is Whitney, my older daughter. Flat, matter of fact. Later, when someone wanted a family photo, Noreen positioned herself right between Mom and Dad. I stood off to the side. When I tried to step closer, Noreen shifted, and I ended up half out of the frame. The photographer didn't ask me to move back in. I told myself it didn't matter. But then the speeches started. Halfway through the cocktail hour, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Marcus Thompson, my friend from law school. We'd stayed close over the years. He was one of the few people who really understood my family dynamics. Hey, you asked about setting up that trust fund last year. Still interested? I have the documents ready if you need them. I stared at the message. Trust fund. Right. 8 years ago, when Dad had his heart surgery, I'd set up what I called an emergency fund. The surgery cost $47,000 after insurance. Mom and Dad thought their policy had covered everything. It hadn't. I'd paid the difference quietly, through a series of transfers they never questioned. 5 years ago, when Mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, the experimental treatment she needed wasn't covered by insurance. $28,000. The hospital told her a charitable fund had stepped in. That fund was me. 2 years ago, Noreen had asked Mom and Dad for $15,000 to start her online store. They didn't have it, so they asked me. I gave it to them, and they gave it to Noreen. They promised to pay me back in 6 months. I never saw a dollar of it. There were other things too. Rent assistance when they'd fallen behind, car repairs, home fixes, little things that added up. I'd never mentioned any of it. I didn't want them to feel guilty. I just wanted them to be okay. Marcus texted again. You're too generous, Whit. Make sure they know what you've done before it's too late. I put my phone away. I didn't know that in less than an hour, I'd be pulling up every single one of those documents. I sat alone at a table near the back of the ballroom. Mom and Dad were at the center of the room, surrounded by guests. Noreen stood beside them, laughing at something someone said. She looked radiant under the chandeliers. Nobody had come to talk to me in 20 minutes. Honey, you okay? I looked up. Aunt Diane, Mom's older sister, slid into the chair beside me. She was one of the few people in the family who ever really saw me. I'm fine, Aunt Diane, I said. Just watching. She followed my gaze across the room. Your parents don't see it, do they? How much you do? I didn't answer. Diane sighed. I've tried talking to Linda about it. She just says you're independent and Noreen needs more support. She shook her head. It's not fair. It's fine, I said automatically. It's not fine. Diane's voice was gentle but firm. You've been taking care of them for years, and they don't even notice. I felt a lump rise in my throat. I swallowed it down. If tonight went like every other family gathering, I'd stay quiet. I'd smile. I'd go home alone and tell myself it didn't matter. But it did matter. If I stayed silent, I'd lose the only thing I had left, my self-respect. I glanced back at my parents. They were posing for another photo with Noreen, all three of them glowing. I wasn't in the picture. Diane squeezed my hand. Whatever happens tonight, just know, I see you. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. I didn't know yet that Aunt Diane would become the most important witness of the night. Noreen drifted over to my table a few minutes later, champagne glass in hand. Hey, sis, she said brightly. You should mingle more. People are asking where you are. I looked at her. I've been here the whole time. Yeah, but like you're just sitting. She gestured vaguely toward the crowd. You should smile more. It's Mom and Dad's big night. I took a slow breath. Did you ever pay them back that $15,000? Noreen blinked. What? The loan, 2 years ago, for your business. She laughed, a light, careless sound. Oh, that? Dad said don't worry about it. Family helps family, right? So you're not planning to pay it back? She shrugged. I mean, if I make money someday, sure. But right now my business needs every dollar. She tilted her head, smiling. You understand, right? You're good with money. I stared at her. She didn't feel guilty. She didn't even feel awkward. She felt entitled. Anyway, Noreen said, taking a sip of champagne. I should get back. Mom wants more pictures. She paused. You should come, for the family shot. I'll catch the next one, I said quietly. She shrugged again and walked away, her dress swishing behind her. I sat there, hands folded in my lap. Noreen wasn't malicious. She wasn't cruel. She just genuinely believed the world and our parents owed her something, and she'd never been told otherwise. That's when I heard the microphone feedback. Dad was stepping up to the small stage at the front of the room, microphone in hand. The room quieted. Guests turned toward him, smiling, and everything was about to change. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Dad said, his voice warm and steady through the speakers. The room filled with applause. He smiled, looking out over the crowd. 35 years ago, I married the love of my life, and every day since then has been a gift." More applause. Mom stood beside him, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Dad talked about their wedding day, about buying their first house, about the challenges they'd faced and overcome together. Then he said, "Linda and I are so blessed. We have 2 daughters." My chest tightened. "Noreen." His voice shifted, warmer, softer. "Our sunshine. She lights up every room she walks into. She's kind, she's beautiful, she's creative. She's everything we could have hoped for in a daughter." The guests clapped enthusiastically. Noreen stood up, beaming, and gave a little wave. People smiled at her. Someone whistled. Dad waited for the applause to die down. "And Whitney," his tone flattened, back to normal. "Our responsible one. She's always been independent, very self-sufficient." That was it. No warmth, no elaboration, just a single sentence, and then he moved on to thanking the guests for coming. I sat frozen in my chair. Aunt Diane, still beside me, whispered, "Oh, honey." I didn't respond. I couldn't. Around me, people shifted uncomfortably. A few glanced in my direction, then quickly looked away. Noreen was still standing, soaking in the attention. And then Mom reached for the microphone. I thought that was the worst of it, but then Mom took the microphone. Mom's hand trembled slightly as she took the microphone from Dad. "I just want to add one thing," she said, smiling at the crowd. The room was quiet, attentive. "Robert and I have been so lucky." She looked at Noreen, her eyes glistening. "Noreen has brought us so much joy, so much light." She paused. Her smile wavered. "Honestly, sometimes I think—" She stopped, laughed a little. "Sometimes we wish Noreen was our only child. Life would be so much simpler." Silence. Absolute suffocating silence. 80 people froze. Forks stopped midair. Conversations died. Every single person in that ballroom turned to look at me. I felt the weight of their stares like a physical thing. Noreen's smile didn't falter. She didn't protest. She didn't say, "Mom, don't say that." She just stood there, looking pleased. Dad nodded beside Mom. "She's right," he said into the microphone. "Noreen makes everything easier." Aunt Diane whispered, "Oh my God." I stood up. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I didn't make a scene. I picked up my purse, pushed my chair back, quietly, carefully, and walked toward the exit. Behind me, I heard murmurs starting, whispers. Someone said my name. I didn't turn around. I walked past the white roses and gold ribbons, past the guests who wouldn't meet my eyes, past the life-sized photo of my parents smiling on their wedding day. I pushed through the double doors and stepped into the cool night air. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding, but I wasn't crying. I walked out of that ballroom, and I never looked back. But before I left the parking lot, I did one thing. I sat in my car in the parking lot, hands gripping the steering wheel. The engine was off. The night was quiet except for the muffled sound of music from inside the ballroom. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. They got their wish. Starting now. I pulled out my phone and texted Marcus. "I need those documents tonight." 3 minutes later, my phone rang. "What happened?" Marcus asked. "They said they wish I didn't exist." My voice was steady, calm. "So I'm going to disappear." "Wait, are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." There was a pause. Then Marcus said, "Okay, but we do this right. Legal, clean, no emotion, no revenge, just boundaries. That's exactly what I want." "Where are you?" "Still at the venue." "Come to my office. I'll meet you there in 30 minutes. I started the car. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I saw people starting to leave the ballroom. A few of them glanced toward my car, but no one approached. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Whitney, where did you go? People are asking." I didn't respond. Another text from Noreen. "Seriously? You're making this about you?" I blocked her number. Then I drove to Marcus's office in downtown Seattle. The streets were mostly empty. The city lights blurred past my windows. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. For the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to fix something. I wasn't trying to smooth things over. I wasn't trying to make everyone else comfortable. I was choosing myself. I didn't go home that night. I went to Marcus's office, and we started planning. If you've ever been the responsible one in your family, the one who gives everything but gets nothing back, you know exactly how this feels. Before we continue, I want to ask, have you ever had to set a boundary with family? How did they react? Share your story in the comments. And if you're finding this helpful, please like and subscribe. Let's keep going, because what happened next changed everything. Marcus's office was on the 14th floor of a glass building overlooking Elliott Bay. By the time I arrived, he'd already pulled files and laid them across his conference table. "Okay," he said, gesturing for me to sit. "Let's go through this." He spread out a printed summary: dates, amounts, receipts, bank statements, everything organized in neat columns. "Dad's heart surgery, 2017, Marcus read. $47,320, paid by you via wire transfer to Seattle General." I nodded. "Mom's cancer treatment, 2020. Experimental drug trial, not covered by insurance. $28,450, paid by you in installments to the research hospital." Right. "Noreen's business loan, 2023, $15,000. Your parents borrowed from you, gave it to her. No repayment." Correct, Marcus continued. "Rent assistance, 2021 through 2022 when they fell behind on their mortgage. $24,000 total. Car repairs, home repairs, emergency expenses, another $18,600. He looked up at me. "Whitney, you've paid $133,370 on their behalf, and they have no idea." I stared at the numbers. "You have bank statements, transfer receipts, and emails confirming every single payment," Marcus said. "This is ironclad." "They thought it was insurance," I said quietly, "or grants, or good luck." "That's fine, but now you need to decide. Do you want them to know, or do you just want to walk away?" I thought about Mom's words. Sometimes we wish Noreen was our only child. "I want them to know," I said, "but only after they realize what they've lost." Marcus nodded. He pulled out a leather folder and handed it to me. "Keep this safe. You'll know when to use it." I didn't waste time. Monday morning, I called my bank. "I need to remove my name from a joint account," I told the representative. "My parents had added me years ago for convenience, so I could transfer money easily when they needed help. Now I removed myself. It took 10 minutes. Tuesday, I canceled the supplementary credit card I'd given Noreen for emergencies. Last month's statement showed $1,200 in online shopping. I kept a copy for my records. Wednesday, I contacted my parents' health insurance company. "I'm no longer able to serve as emergency contact or co-payer for Robert and Linda Davis. Please update your records immediately." The representative hesitated. "Ma'am, are you sure? This will affect their coverage terms." "I'm sure." Thursday, I drafted a formal letter. Marcus reviewed it, made it airtight, and sent it on his firm's letterhead. "Effective immediately, I am no longer able to provide financial assistance to Robert and Linda Davis. Please direct all future needs to Noreen Davis, as per your stated preference." It was professional. It was clear. It was final. Friday. I changed my phone settings. I didn't block Mom, Dad, or Noreen. I wanted a record if they called, but I set their numbers to Do Not Disturb. Their calls would go straight to voicemail. Saturday, I went to a spa, got a massage, read a book in a quiet room with soft music. I didn't cry. I didn't feel guilty. I felt lighter than I had in years. Sunday, I checked my phone. 37 missed calls. I didn't answer a single one. Sunday evening, I listened to the voicemails. Dad's voice, confused. "Whitney, this is Dad. We got a weird letter from some lawyer. What's going on? Call us back." Mom, anxious. "Honey, the bank said you removed yourself from our account. Was that a mistake? We need to talk." Noreen, irritated. "Whit, seriously? You canceled my card? I have bills to pay. This isn't funny." I didn't call back. Instead, I sent a single email. Short, professional, with Marcus CC'd. As stated in the formal letter, I am no longer able to provide financial support. Please direct all needs to Noreen. Best regards, Whitney. Dad called again an hour later. I let it go to voicemail. "Whitney, what is this about?" His voice was sharper now. "You're being childish. We're family. You can't just cut us off over something your mother said. She didn't mean it." I deleted the voicemail. Mom texted, "Please call me. I don't understand what's happening." I didn't respond. Noreen sent a string of texts. "Are you seriously doing this? You're being so dramatic." "Mom's crying because of you." I muted the conversation. They still didn't understand. But they were about to. On Tuesday, the first bill arrived. Dad called me, his voice strained. "Whitney, I just got a hospital bill for $4,200 for my cardiology appointment. They're saying it's not covered." I didn't answer. He left another voicemail. "The insurance company said something about a third-party payer being terminated. What does that mean? Did you do something?" I saved the voicemail, but I didn't call back. By Wednesday, Mom had received her bill too. They called Noreen. And that's when everything started to unravel. Thursday morning, Mom called the hospital billing department. I know this because Aunt Diane told me later. She'd been at their house when it happened. "There must be a mistake," Mom said into the phone, her voice shaking. "My cancer medication has always been covered. There's a charitable fund." The billing coordinator interrupted her. "Ma'am, the fund you're referring to was a private arrangement. It's no longer active." "What do you mean, private arrangement?" "I'm not authorized to disclose the details, but as of last week, payments have ceased. You'll need to make alternative arrangements." The bill was $1,800 for 1 month of medication. Dad's cardiology bill was $4,200. Together, they owed over $6,000 in medical expenses they'd thought were covered. Dad called their insurance company. "Why isn't this covered?" he demanded. The representative explained patiently. "Sir, your copay portion has always been covered by a third-party payer. That arrangement has been terminated." "What third party?" "We're not authorized to disclose that information." Dad hung up. He stared at Mom. "It was Whitney," Mom whispered. "Wasn't it?" They sat in silence. Then Dad picked up the phone and called Noreen. "Honey," he said, his voice tight, "we need help. Can you cover these bills temporarily? Just until we figure this out." There was a long pause. "How much?" Noreen asked. "About $6,000 this month." Noreen's voice went high. "What?" "Dad, I don't have that kind of money." "But you said your business was doing well." "I mean, I'm working on it, but I can't just pull $6,000 out of nowhere." "What about the $15,000 we gave you?" Silence. "That's invested in inventory," Noreen said finally. "I can't touch it." That's when Aunt Diane called me, and everything changed. I was at work when Aunt Diane called. "Whitney," she said, "I'm at your parents' house. You need to hear this." I could hear voices in the background. Dad's raised and frustrated. Mom's tearful. "What's going on?" I asked. "Your parents just realized Noreen can't help them, and they're panicking." I heard Dad's voice. So you can't help us at all? Noreen, crying now. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. Can't you ask Whitney? She won't answer our calls, Mom said. Well, Noreen's voice cracked. Maybe you shouldn't have said what you said at the party. Silence. Then Mom, very quietly. What? You said you wished I was your only child, Noreen said, in front of everyone. What did you think would happen? I heard Mom start to cry. Aunt Diane spoke into the phone. They're starting to understand, but they need to hear it from you. I'm not ready, I said. I know, but I think Sunday dinner might be the time. Let them see the proof. Let them understand what they've lost. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, they'll never learn, and Noreen will keep playing victim. I was quiet for a long moment. I'll think about it, I said. Bring Marcus, Diane said, and bring your documents. After we hung up, I sat at my desk, staring at my computer screen. Part of me wanted to let them figure it out on their own, let them struggle, let them feel what I'd felt. But another part of me, the part that still loved them despite everything, wanted them to know the truth. Not for them, for me. I agreed, but I had one condition. Marcus had to be there. This is the moment where everything shifts. If you've ever wondered whether setting boundaries actually works, or if it just makes things worse, keep watching. Because what happens next proves that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back and let people face the consequences of their own choices. Drop a comment. Have you ever had to let someone figure it out on their own? Hit like if you're still with me, and let's see how this unfolds. Saturday afternoon, Aunt Diane called again. Sunday dinner, she said. Your parents want to talk. They're desperate, Whitney. They still don't fully understand, but they're starting to. What did you tell them? I asked. Nothing specific. Just that they need to listen to you, really listen. I hesitated. Honey, Diane said gently, they don't even know what you've done for them. They think you're just being petty about a comment. They have no idea. Maybe they don't deserve to know. Maybe not. But you deserve to tell them. Not for them. For you. I thought about it. If I come, I said slowly, Marcus comes with me, and I bring proof. Agreed. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I wouldn't expect you to. Sunday arrived too quickly. I dressed carefully, professional, composed, a navy blazer, simple jewelry. I wanted to look like someone who had their life together, because I did. Marcus met me in the driveway of my parents' house. He carried a leather briefcase. You ready? He asked. No, I said. But let's do it anyway. We walked up to the front door together. Through the window, I could see them sitting at the dining table. Mom, Dad, Noreen. They looked tired, stressed, good, I thought. Then immediately felt guilty for thinking it. Aunt Diane opened the door before I could knock. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. I stepped inside. Mom looked up. Her eyes were red. Whitney. Dad stood. We need to talk about this. You can't just... Sit down, I said. My voice was calm, steady. Dad sat. Marcus placed his briefcase on the table, and the room went silent. We sat around the dining table, the same table where we'd had countless family dinners over the years. But this time, everything felt different. Mom twisted a napkin in her hands. Dad's jaw was tight. Noreen sat with her arms crossed, looking anywhere but at me. Whitney, Mom started, her voice trembling. What is going on? Why are you doing this to us? I'm not doing anything to you, I said evenly. I'm simply stepping back. Stepping back? Dad's voice rose. You cut us off. We have bills we can't pay. The hospital is threatening to send us to collections. Then ask Noreen. I looked at my sister. You said you wished she was your only child. Mom flinched. That was just... I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? She opened her mouth, closed it. No words came out. Noreen shifted uncomfortably. Whit, come on. Mom says stuff like that all the time. You're being too sensitive. I turned to her. Do I? She blinked. What? Am I being too sensitive? Or are you just used to getting everything you want? That's not fair. You owe them $15,000, I said calmly. Have you paid any of it back? Noreen's face flushed. I'm working on it. For 2 years? My business— Your business is failing, I said. Not cruelly, just factually. And they keep bailing you out. Whitney, that's enough, Dad said sharply. I looked at him. Is it? Marcus cleared his throat. Mr. and Mrs. Davis, I think you need to see something. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. Mom stared at it. What is that? Marcus placed it on the table. This is a financial summary, notarized and verified. The room went completely still. Marcus opened the folder and spread the documents across the table. This is every payment Whitney has made on your behalf over the past 8 years, he said. Dad leaned forward. What? Marcus read from the summary, his voice professional and clear. Dad's heart surgery, 2017, $47,320, paid by Whitney Davis via wire transfer to Seattle General Hospital. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Mom's cancer treatment, 2020, experimental drug trial, $28,450, paid by Whitney in 6 installments to the University of Washington Medical Center. Dad stared at the papers. But the hospital said, Noreen's business loan, 2023, $15,000, never repaid. Noreen's face went pale. Marcus continued, rent assistance, 2021 through 2022, when you fell behind on your mortgage, $24,000 total. Miscellaneous expenses, car repairs, home repairs, emergency costs, $18,600. He looked up. Total, $133,370. The silence was deafening. Mom looked at me, tears streaming down her face. Whitney, you paid for all of this? Yes, I said simply. But the insurance, the hospital said there was a fund. I was the fund. Dad's voice was barely a whisper. Why didn't you tell us? Because I didn't want you to feel like you owed me, I said. I just wanted you to be okay. Noreen stared at the documents. I didn't know. Didn't. I know you didn't. I looked at her. But you also never asked. Aunt Diane, standing in the doorway, spoke quietly, and you thanked her by saying you wished she didn't exist. Mom started sobbing. Mom reached across the table toward me. Whitney, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't mean what I said. I didn't take her hand. You said it in front of 80 people, I said quietly. You meant it. No! Mom shook her head frantically. We were just trying to make Noreen feel special. She's had such a hard time. And I haven't? The question hung in the air. Dad spoke up. Whitney, we've always known you were strong, independent. You didn't need us the way Noreen did. I did need you, I said. My voice didn't waver. I just stopped asking, because every time I did, you said no. Dad looked away. I've spent 8 years making sure you were okay, I continued. I never asked for thanks. I never asked for recognition. But I also never expected to be told I shouldn't exist. Mom was crying harder now. Please, we need you. No, I said. You need money, and you have another daughter. Noreen's voice was small. Whit, I can't. Then figure it out, I said, looking at her. Together. That's what you wanted, right? Just the 3 of you. That's not what we meant, Dad started. But it's what you said. I stood up. And words matter. Mom grabbed my arm. Please don't leave. We can fix this. I gently removed her hand. I'm not leaving. I'm setting a boundary. Marcus stood as well, gathering the documents, which brings us to the next item. He pulled out another folder. Dad's eyes widened. What is that? A formal agreement, Marcus said, defining Whitney's boundaries going forward. Marcus laid the document on the table. This is a boundary agreement, he explained. It states that Whitney is officially withdrawing from all financial obligations to this family. Dad stared at it. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious, I said. Marcus continued. No co-signing loans, no emergency funds, no temporary help. If you need financial assistance in the future, you'll go through proper channels, banks, insurance companies, social services. But we're family, Mom said, her voice breaking. Family doesn't say they wish you didn't exist, I replied. The words landed like stones. Dad leaned back in his chair. We made a mistake. Can't you forgive us? Maybe someday, I said, but not today, and not until you understand what you did. I picked up the pen Marcus offered me. My hand was steady as I signed my name at the bottom of the document. Marcus notarized it with his seal. This is legally binding. Whitney is no longer financially responsible for any member of this family. Noreen was crying now too. Whit, please. You'll figure it out, I said, not unkindly. You're resourceful. You'll find a way. I looked at my parents. I'll be in touch when I'm ready. Until then, please respect my boundaries. Mom reached for me again, but I stepped back. I love you, I said, but I can't keep doing this. I can't keep sacrificing myself so you can pretend everything's fine. Dad's face crumpled. Whitney. Goodbye, I said softly. I walked out of the dining room. Marcus followed. Aunt Diane met me at the door. You okay? She whispered. I don't know, I admitted. But I did the right thing. She hugged me. I'm proud of you. I walked out to my car. The afternoon sun was bright, almost blinding. Marcus stood beside me in the driveway. You did good in there. Did I? My voice sounded distant to my own ears. Or did I just blow up my family? They blew it up, he said firmly. You just stopped cleaning up the mess. I leaned against my car, suddenly exhausted. Aunt Diane came out a moment later. She handed me a bottle of water. Drink. You look pale. I took a sip. How are they? Shocked, crying, starting to understand, I think. She paused. Noreen asked if you'd ever forgive her. What did you tell her? That it's not about forgiveness right now. It's about change. I nodded slowly. Whitney, Diane said gently, you feel lighter, don't you? Even though it hurts. She was right. I did feel lighter. For the first time in 8 years, I wasn't carrying the weight of their problems. I wasn't lying awake at night worrying about their bills. I wasn't checking my bank account to see if I could afford to help them again. I was free. Call me if you need anything, Diane said. And for what it's worth, I'm proud of you. What you did in there took more courage than most people have. I hugged her. Thank you. For everything. I got in my car and drove home. On the way, something strange happened. I started crying, not from sadness but from relief. Years of tension, of trying to be enough, of hoping they'd see me, it all released at once. By the time I pulled into my driveway, I felt emptied out, but also, somehow, whole. I thought that was the end, but it was just the beginning. 1 month later, Aunt Diane called with an update. Your parents hired a financial advisor, she told me. They're restructuring everything. How's it going? I asked, genuinely curious. Hard. They had to sell Dad's second car. They switched to a cheaper insurance plan. Your mom's applying for Medicaid assistance for her cancer medication. I felt a pang of guilt. Then reminded myself, this isn't my responsibility anymore. And Noreen? I asked. Diane sighed. She closed her online store. It was losing $8,000 over the past 6 months. She got a part-time job at a retail store in Bellevue. How's she handling it? Better than I expected, actually. I think reality is finally setting in. There was a pause. They called you, didn't they? I said. Once. Your dad left a voicemail. Did you listen to it? I had. Late one night, when I couldn't sleep, Dad's voice had been quiet, defeated. "Whitney, we understand now. We're sorry. We hope someday you can forgive us. We we miss you." I'd saved the message, but I hadn't responded. "I'm not ready yet," I told Diane. "I know, and that's okay. Take your time." After we hung up, I sat on my couch, staring at my phone. Part of me wanted to call them back, to fix things, to make everything okay again. But I knew that if I did, nothing would change. They'd fall back into old patterns, and so would I. So I waited. And then 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. I got an email from Noreen. The subject line read, "I'm sorry." I almost deleted it, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. "Whit, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to say this. I didn't realize how much you did. I thought Mom and Dad were just lucky. I thought things worked out for them because they were good people. I didn't know it was you. I also didn't realize how much I took for granted. The credit card, the loan, the way they always bailed me out. I thought that was normal. I thought that's what families did. But it's not normal. And it's not fair. I'm working now, retail, part-time. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. And I'm paying Mom and Dad back, slowly, $50 a week. It'll take me years, but I'm doing it." I also told them the truth, that I can't be their safety net, that I'm barely keeping myself afloat. They're scared. And I think they finally understand what they lost when they pushed you away. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I deserve it. But I wanted you to know. I see you now. And I'm sorry. I read the email 3 times. It wasn't perfect. It didn't undo the damage. But it was real. I didn't respond immediately. I needed time to think. But I didn't delete it either. A week later, I sent a short reply. "I appreciate your honesty. Let's take it slow." Noreen wrote back within an hour. "Thank you. That's all I can ask for." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. Word spread. Not through gossip, at least not malicious gossip. Aunt Diane had quietly explained the situation to a few close family friends, not to shame my parents, but to help people understand why I'd stepped back. And once people knew, the dynamic shifted. One of Mom's closest friends called me. "Whitney, I had no idea what you'd been through. I'm so sorry we didn't see it." Another guest from the anniversary party sent a message. "I was there that night. What your parents said was wrong. You didn't deserve that." A few people reached out to my parents directly, asking uncomfortable questions. "Why did you say that to Whitney? Did you know what she'd been doing for you?" My parents couldn't deny it. 80 people had heard them. The social consequences were subtle but real. Invitations slowed. People were polite but distant. My parents' reputation in their community, built over decades, had taken a hit. Not a scandal, not public shaming, just awareness. People knew now that the perfect family image they'd projected wasn't real. And my parents had to live with that. Aunt Diane told me later that Mom had broken down at a church event when someone asked how I was doing. "She's fine," Mom had said. "We're working on things." The woman had nodded knowingly. "I hope you can make it right." Mom had cried in the parking lot afterward. I didn't feel triumphant when I heard that. I felt sad, but I also felt validated. For years, I'd wondered if I was overreacting, if I was too sensitive, if I should just accept that this was how my family worked. Now I knew. I wasn't wrong. And I wasn't alone. So here's my question for you. If you were in my position, would you have done the same thing? Or would you have handled it differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you've ever had to set a boundary with family, I'd love to hear your story. Did they respect it? Or did they push back? Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss future stories. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one. 6 months after that Sunday dinner, my life looked completely different. I still hadn't seen my parents in person, but we'd exchanged a few emails, short, polite, careful. Noreen and I texted occasionally, nothing deep, just small updates. She'd sent me a photo of her first paycheck from her retail job. Not much, but it's mine, she'd written. I'd replied, I'm proud of you. And I meant it. I started going to therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand why I'd spent so many years trying to earn love that should have been freely given. My therapist helped me see patterns I'd never noticed before. How I'd learned early on that my worth was tied to what I could provide. How I'd become an expert at anticipating other people's needs while ignoring my own. You've been running on empty for years, she told me. Now you're learning to fill your own tank first. It was hard work. Some days I still felt guilty for setting boundaries. Some days I wanted to call my parents and fix everything. But most days, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. My company opened a second office. My team threw me a surprise celebration. I stood in that room, surrounded by people who valued me for who I was, not what I could give them. And I realized something. I was enough. I'd always been enough. I spent weekends hiking with friends. I took a pottery class. I read books without feeling guilty for taking time for myself. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And for the first time in my adult life, I wasn't living for anyone else's approval. I'm sitting in my favorite coffee shop as I finish telling you this story. It's a small place near my apartment with big windows that overlook the street. I come here every Sunday morning now. I order the same thing, a latte and a blueberry scone, and I sit by the window and just exist. No obligations, no emergencies, no one needing me to fix their problems, just me. I think about what Aunt Diane said that day. They blew it up. You just stopped cleaning up the mess. She was right. I didn't destroy my family. I just stopped hiding the cracks. Here's what I've learned. You can't love someone into changing. You can't sacrifice yourself to make someone else feel whole. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them face the consequences of their own actions. My parents are learning to manage their finances. Noreen is learning responsibility. And I'm learning that my worth isn't measured by how much I give. Will I ever fully reconcile with my family? I don't know. Maybe. If they truly change. If they show me, through actions, not words, that they understand what they did. But if they don't, I'll be okay. Because I finally learned the most important lesson. I don't need their approval to know I'm enough. So that's my story. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. I'd love to know, have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping your self-respect? What did you do? Let me know in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away.